I'm Batman.
No, I'm Batman. That was a really
Batman.
Listen, I was thinking the other day, because like inevitably all the time, like 3 times a week, I'll be scrolling Facebook and you see them more for Batman than you do any other character. Sometimes Superman, sometimes Spider-Man, but inevitably more than any other character, it'll be that image with like several different actors who have played Batman, and then do the thumbs up react for this Batman, do the heart react for this Batman. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And overwhelmingly, Christian Bale is usually the winner. And not always by a landslide. When I say overwhelmingly, I mean overwhelmingly in the sense that the majority of those votes that I see, he's edged out Keaton or Affleck by at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And I truly, like, not count, if we're talking modern day Batman, so we're like, if we're not counting Adam West, I truly do think Christian Bale is the worst Batman. I don't think they're the worst Batman movies. Like, I think the movies themselves are better than, say, Batman and Robin. Right? Like, I recognize that The Dark Knight
overall as
is a hell
trilogy,
of a film.
it's done itself a service to
good.
Batman compared to others.
But Christian Bale himself, pretty good Bruce Wayne. Horrible Batman. And I think that without fail for me, because I was like, why? I was thinking this the other day, am I just on that same train of like, oh, I hate Avatar because it's cool to hate Avatar? Like, am I just going against the herd because I know that so many people love the Christian Bale Batman? And I don't think I am. I think the reason I detest Christian Bale's Batman is, part of it is the overhypeness. Part of it is like it's just, you all love him and you're all wrong. But so much of it, like I would say the lion's share, is that god-awful voice. It's so distractingly bad.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get over after a while.
Where are the other jokes going? Don't swear to God, swear to me.
Like,
it's a little over the top.
It's so, and it's not just like that's what his voice sounds like. If you were to watch the movie on mute, if you were to take those movies and watch them with the audio removed, you'd be like, what the hell is he doing with his mouth? Because he deforms his mouth in order to make this stupid voice.
The best kind of exaggeration of that would be was it College Humor? Did the Batman skits?
There was one from years ago, and I don't think it's College Humor. I think it was, well, maybe it was.
I'm pretty sure it was
but there's
College
one
Humor.
where it
did more than one.
The Joker. It's the Joker and Batman interrogation scene from The Dark Knight. And the Joker's just like, have you ever been to a doctor? Because I think you might have throat cancer.
I don't have throat cancer.
And it's just like this.
No, okay. It is College Humor, and it's more than just that interrogation scene. They've done several.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yeah, you should watch.
But yeah,
they're great, but they show kind of that like why that Batman isn't great, and it's the voice, and like when he's just standing there, his mouth is kind of like open, agape in an awkward way, and he says, "I talk like this."
Like his lips never meet.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And it gets worse is that I quite enjoy, sorry, this is not what we're here to talk about, but I quite enjoy
it's a fun tangent.
I quite enjoy Batman Begins. And I really like the Batman Begins bat suit. Like everyone got all crazy, like, oh, he can turn his head now. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, I really loved that panther-like neck, velvety cape bat suit from Batman Begins.
Kind of all in one
Yeah, the one piece cowl, and but the films just got worse for me as far as Christian Bale's performance, and it comes to a point in The Dark Knight Rises when Batman is talking to Gordon, and he's like, the discussion is Batman saying, I got to fly this bomb out over the harbor so that the citizens don't die. I got to sacrifice myself, right? And Gordon's trying to talk him out of it, like, no, you're the hero, like, whatever. And Batman, he not only does he sound throat cancery, not only is his mouth agape, but like he just sounds exhausted, like out of breath for no reason. Like he hops out of his vehicle and he's like,
a hero can be anybody.
It's like breathy.
Like somebody
breathy. Yeah.
Putting the jacket over a young boy and telling him that everything's gonna be okay.
And it's just like, what the hell is happening right now? Like at no point should Gary Oldman not have been like, okay, sorry, Batman, what are you doing? Like, is that your actual voice, or like, is something wrong with you?
Yeah.
Are you terminal? Yeah. No, it's yeah. Hello and welcome to the Movie Men podcast.
The B team?
The B team.
When we don't do the news, are we still the B team?
Yeah, sure we are. I mean, it's you and me, right?
Yeah. I really get this feeling like Pete and I should do our own little side.
The C team. The CP team. The PC team.
Reviewing something else.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you guys not?
No, we're not. But we've been talking about watching something recently. I think we were talking about watching Last Action Hero.
Oh, yeah.
Or something. It's an Arnie flick.
I'm aware.
We should do
I haven't seen it, but I know of it.
Pete, if you're listening, when you listen, we should do like an Arnie, pick a bunch of Arnie movies to go through, or like we watch an Arnie movie and then we watch a movie from your favorite actor and kind of go back and forth.
Ooh,
I don't know.
that'd be cool.
We should do something. We got to do something.
That would be cool. Pete and I actually, and there may be the perfect spot for that, because Pete and I have been, just this morning actually, we were sort of talking about, okay, like this trek back through history where we go back a year and then back a year and back a year, and that's what's been dictating our voting categories. We're like, well, what is the timeline for that?
When
we first started well, yeah, because the first when we first started it, we were like, well, I don't know, we're just gonna kind of let that play out. Like I think we'll know maybe when it's time, like when the options, when like all of a sudden it's 1976 and it's like, okay, so hard to come up with 4 films that A, we think are interesting enough to do, and B, we think enough people even know about that they're going to care and vote on one of these options.
Like the 2000s and 90s are easy because you were both kind of around during that time.
Yep.
The 80s will be still kind of easy because a lot of those 80s movies are considered classics, and people growing up in the 90s would have watched those events at some point, right? Like Star Wars, Ghostbusters, the Terminator, like there's a laundry list of action flicks and great cinema. Action flicks come to mind first for me, obviously. That came out in the 80s that are just like classics and cult classics that you can do. But then like you go get into the 70s, you're probably starting to tread on some on thinner content there.
Yeah, so I think essentially what we've decided is we don't know for certain when it will end, but that it won't go past 1980. 1980 will be the last one.
Cool.
And then we'll just go back to like 3 years ago. There was a time where we just had like different vote categories each week. Like maybe one would be horror, maybe one would be Christopher Nolan films. Maybe one would be, blah, blah, blah. And I have a couple of different ideas, but I also really like your idea for just like bouncing back and forth between
it's kind of like what you guys used to do about like recommendations after what you watched, but you kind of like,
which I miss.
Take it a step further where it's just like, okay, I'm choosing the video this week, you're choosing the video next week.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so
but why are we here,
all
Brady?
that said, Pete's not here, and I feel like it's important to address this because today's episode is sort of the continuation of Pete and I did a series. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up about this. Pete's not here. Pete and I did a series where we went through and reviewed all of Batman's live action films. I think the only thing we excluded really was Suicide Squad because he's in it for like 2 minutes. And, so you can really build a movie around that. But we did like all the Batman proper films. We did Batman v Superman. We did Justice League, both versions. And so, yeah. So, and this is, I mean, yes, it's a Flash film, but it's pretty heavily featuring Batman, right? Like it's in multiple different Batmans. And so it was, yeah. So Pete's not here. And the only reason that Pete is not here was just scheduling issues. Pete was not able to go see it. Carl and I have both seen it close to a week ago now, if not more.
What, Brady? What did we see?
They've read the title of the
but you still have to say it.
I just said technically it's a Flash movie.
That's not the name of the movie, Brady.
The name of the movie is The Flash.
Yeah, there it is.
Batman Flashpoint. So he just wasn't able to go see it. In the amount of time that it was going to make sense in order for us to have seen it, to be able to record an episode and get it out, while the movie's still sort of relevant in everyone's minds. So that really sucks. I want to make 2 disclaimers, and I think it's important to make these 2 disclaimers before we go any further. Number 1 is an obvious one. Number 1 is we're about to spoil the shit out of The Flash. So if you haven't seen The Flash, first of all, if you haven't seen The Flash and you're not like, I'm voting with my wallet, I hate The Flash, then whatever, you do you. But if you're just like, oh, you know what, I've kind of been curious about this Flash film, but you haven't seen The Flash, go see The Flash. Go see The Flash. I'm not going to show my hand right now as to whether or not I think it's a good film or a bad film or whatever. But I will tell you, I think you, at the very least, you're going to have an entertaining time. You're going to have an entertaining time. And, for the $12 that is a 12, where else can you get 2.5 hours of entertainment for $12? Just doesn't exist. Go to the movies. The second thing that I think is very important, and I've been thinking about this all week, is both Carl and I are aware of the Ezra controversy. We've talked about it on the news show a couple of times. So we're both aware of it. Today, we are reviewing The Flash. We're not reviewing Ezra Miller. We're not...
Well, we may review his acting, but not him as a
person.
We're going
to... Exactly. So today, when we talk about Ezra Miller, it will be in terms of how their performance benefited or didn't benefit the film, how they were in the film, so on and so forth. We're not going to dive into, it's not going to be like, oh, this scene was really great. Too bad Ezra's a horrible person, right? Like, I just want to Because it's quite possible that the two of us are going to say a lot of... we may not have liked Ezra Miller's performance, but it's quite possible that we're going to say a lot of really positive things about Ezra Miller today. And that is reflective 100% of Ezra's acting in this film. And furthermore, acting that Ezra did in this film prior to all of the controversy and the scandal, whatever you want to call it, the legal troubles that Ezra Miller finds themselves in. So that's important. This is not the news show. If you're looking for an update, this is not where you're going to get it. So, with all of that out of the way, let's kick things off with some initial impressions. I will go first, and then I'll pass it over to Carl, and then we'll just kind of break down the different aspects of the film from there. Initial impressions. I want to preface my initial impressions by saying I had impossibly high expectations for this film, which is something that I always want to avoid doing for a film, because, then you're just making it harder on yourself to enjoy the film. But I had uncrushably high expectations, and I couldn't help it because it was Michael Keaton as Batman. And that was something that up until a few years ago, I didn't even know was possible. It's not even like, I've made jokes where I'm like, I've been waiting for this since 1990. No, I have not been waiting for this because I didn't allow myself to even entertain that possibility for a second until they said, hey, guess what? And then this became my number one anticipated thing of maybe the rest of my life. The second they introduced that. So uncrushably high impossibly high expectations. This movie's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's not without its issues. It has a couple of issues. There are a few things that I'm going to gripe about. Not everything that was on my wish list was given to me, but I'm okay with that because with the direction they took things in, some of the items that were on my wish list wouldn't have fit or made any sense anyways. So I'm able to swallow that pill. And ultimately, objectively, which means I'm not leaving room for anybody else's opinion in this. Whether you thoroughly enjoy The Flash, where it was a major letdown and you didn't like it, the fact that this film exists and the things that happen in this film, the people who are in this film are in it. Much in the same vein of the fact that we're getting Wolverine, we're getting Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, much in the fact that we just got 3 Spider-Mans on screen, live action Spider-Mans on screen together. Objectively, there has, in the history of the world, there has never been a greater time to be alive as a comic book fan and as a comic book movie fan. Again, regardless of whether or not this movie worked for you or didn't work for you, the fact that this exists and what each time a film like this happens, what that continues to open the doors to moving forward and down the road. There's never been a sweeter time for us comic book fans than the time that we're living in right now.
Yep. And
I hope it just continues to get crazier. But that's my initial impression. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed this film ultimately. I have some gripes, but it's going to be a positive review for me overall. Carl, what are your initial impressions of The Flash?
Yeah, I would mirror most of what you said. Like, yeah, really fun superhero film. Really well done adaptation of the Flashpoint story. It's not the it's not exactly the same as the comic book story, but they do kind of honor and take a lot of story beats from Flashpoint, the comic book story, and they take a lot of the right ones, I think. They miss a few that I think would have been better, but it works for this story that they told. And so anybody who's a fan of the Flashpoint story, I think they'll enjoy this. I'm not a fan of Ezra Miller as the Flash. I've said it before on our news show. He doesn't fit for me. But I still enjoyed the film greatly. I still think he did a great job. His acting was really good in this film. I got a few gripes as well. I would say I didn't have impossibly high expectations going into this, but for those that follow the news show, we talked a number of times about these big Hollywood names who had seen pre-screenings of this film and praised it to the sun. And I kind of walked out not understanding what they were talking about, because I don't think it was as good as those articles made it sound like they were saying it was.
Well, and that's one of the great things about movies, right? Is it something's going to hit you differently than it hits the next person. Than it, you know. Yeah. So, but I don't think, like, it's not a cinematic masterpiece the way like Tom Cruise was touting it. Right.
Right. Like, right. What are you talking about, Tom Cruise? This is not like, this is a good superhero movie. This isn't Schindler's List. What's going on?
I think specifically what Tom Cruise said was, this is exactly the film that the world needs right now.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd go that far. It's just a good superhero. There are, like, Marvel has made just as many films that I would say are on par with this in terms of superhero film, and some that are better than this film easily. So,
well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, is this what this world needs? I don't know. It's a superhero film.
Like, even example, because you were talking about, like, you know, it takes some. It's an adaptation.
Yeah,
it's not a carbon copy of the Flashpoint story. No. It's an adaptation. Excuse me, which I think is perfectly fine, because as an example of another film that did that I think is really great, if not maybe better, was Captain America: Civil War. We all loved Captain America: Civil War, but if you had come straight from reading the comic and then you were like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen, you would have been like, oh, whoa, wait. Like, there are some big differences here.
Captain America didn't even die. What?
Yeah. Okay, so right off the bat, something I want to talk about, because it kind of piggybacks off of something you just said, is talking about Ezra Miller and their performance in this movie. I have been, so to preface this, I have been an Ezra Miller fan of him, them playing the Flash. I have been. I think they do a fantastic job. And is it like a carbon copy of what you see out of the comics? No, but that's the thing about film and storytelling, and, you know, we trust in the fact that our filmmakers are good storytellers and have the wherewithal to understand when something may work really, really well on the comic page and maybe doesn't translate or won't work as well as something else on the big screen. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. But regardless, I have been an Ezra Miller Flash fan. I think Ezra is fantastic in this film. And something that I have not been able to get my mind off of all week was there was a moment about partway through this film, well after Barry is with Barry and the two Barrys have been on screen for a while. There was a moment I'm sitting there in the theater and the thought process goes through my head of like, oh yeah, like Ezra's acting, they shot this scene twice with a stand-in. And that's Ezra acting both times against themselves.
Yeah.
And like,
no, yeah,
because
his
had you told me,
on point.
had you told me, because what I realized in that moment was like, had you told me this is Ezra Miller and Ezra Miller's twin brother, that there were two people in this film and that it was just a regular scene shot the way all regular scenes are shot, that's how I had been viewing the film. I was so sucked in and immersed in what they were telling me that I actually had to have I actually had a moment where I like pulled back and went, wait a second, that's the same actor. Like,
Ezra does a great job of portraying the Flash as three different people, and all of them feel exceptionally different from the other.
Different.
That when viewed on the screen, you like you said, you lose yourself to the idea that they're not the same person.
It's not the same. And effects wise, like visually, and we'll get into the visuals of this film, but visually, this effect of having the same actor act against themselves in the same scene, I don't know that I've ever seen it done better. Like there's lots of films. This isn't a new camera trick. This has been done obviously in lots of films. And certainly it's gotten better over the years, but there's always like one moment where I'm like, this is like maybe the sight lines are off a little bit, or maybe, like whatever it is. And you're just like, I'm very aware that that's the same person and that this scene was shot twice and someone was composited in, or, whatever it is. Never once in The Flash did I have that. I was just like, this is, it's Barry Allen and Barry Allen. Like I've bought that, like hook, line, and sinker. I've bought it. So that was my hat is, regardless of the way the rest of this review goes, my hat is off to Andy Muschietti and Ezra Miller and the effects teams that worked on this film, because that was incredible.
Yeah. So like Ezra Miller as the Flash is one of my complaints for this because and this is one of those things where art is subjective. There is no, like, when one person looks at art, they can have a completely different feeling and idea, and
there's no right or wrong.
And so when I view Ezra Miller as the Flash, I don't see the Flash. I see somebody acting. Now, like we were just saying, Ezra Miller did a phenomenal job acting in this. And I did lose myself in the film. I did lose myself to him being the Flash. But when I leave the theater, when I think back on it, I'm just like, but he doesn't look like the way I want my Flash to look. And that's just my personal preference, right? I want my Flash to have, red hair or blonde hair and be a little bit more confident and cocky, and that's nothing on Ezra's acting. That's more on the script and who chose to portray the producers.
Zack Snyder originally casting.
Yeah. So that's on Zack Snyder and on the script, because Ezra's just, portraying the Flash as he's written and the way that they interpreted it.
So you were never a fan then of Grant Gustin in the CW's Flash either, then, right? Because he's got like the same color.
He's got like a dusty red head or dusty brown. Yeah,
he's
I never watched that show. I watched like 2 episodes and
it gets fantastic. It falls off. It should have ended before it did, but there's like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season are truly fantastic.
Yeah,
but
when I envision the Flash, I think of the first vision that comes to my head are anything from DC Animated Studios, the films and cartoons, right? Like, and Barry and what are the other Flash names? They're always usually blonde or redheads.
Wally West.
Wally's the redhead. And then so I don't know. It just, when it contrasted to what I kind of grew up with and fell in love with as who I imagine the Flash to be, just doesn't fit.
Bart Allen?
And I don't know. I'm not. That's the other thing. I'm not super familiar with the franchise, the Flash either. I know some of the lore and stuff, but he's not like my go-to, and DC's not my go-to. Marvel always has been, but I still have a vision of what I would like, and it just doesn't match up. But that didn't detract from this film in any way. It doesn't detract from the acting and from Ezra Miller playing him, the Flash. However, there is a big but here. The Flash from
like a big juicy butt.
Let's call the main Flash that we see at the beginning of the film primary Flash or main Flash or whatever.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Earth 1. It's like, oh my gosh, you're going full nerdy on this.
And then the younger Flash we'll call Flash B or secondary Flash, whatever, right?
New 52
so primary Flash, when he's in his own timeline at the beginning, he's not confident. He's kind of clumsy, especially with his words. He doesn't portray confidence in any manner. But when he goes back in time to fix things and ends up meeting Flash 2, all those things are gone. It's not, he's all of a sudden a different character almost. That's what I took issue with. And when he goes back,
interesting.
When he comes, I felt like when he kind of fixed things and ended up back in his own timeline, he kind of fell back into those old roles. So I don't know, like you could make the inference that because he was in this crisis scenario, he was forced to be the confident self he is when he's kind of behind the mask. But even behind the mask, he's not, because when he's trying to help Batman, he's still kind of doesn't seem very confident to me. But like when he's in the screwed up version of history, he's very confident. He talks to Batman very confidently about what he wants to do and how to fix things, and it felt like two different Flashes to me. And the person I saw it with, he said the same thing.
Did you see it with Tim?
Yeah. He felt the same thing. So that in terms of the acting was my only real gripe.
Interesting.
So that for some reason, Flash's persona, I guess maybe you call it, Flash is, kind of changed a little bit.
Interesting.
And it didn't make a lot of sense.
I didn't have and just for reference here, Wally West, Barry Allen, and Jay Garrick are kind of the main, Jay Garrick being like the original Flash.
Yeah.
He's the first character from like the 40s. It was Jay Garrick. I didn't have an issue with that, and because I think I saw it exactly the way you just proposed, which was, when you're in a time of like the most timid and unsure person in a time of emergency, in a time of crisis, has the ability to all of a sudden go into crisis mode. Right. And that's that, like, from a psychology standpoint, like, that's been proven. There's something that happens in you that, like,
I felt like they didn't even, there were moments when he was helping Batman right at the beginning where he kind of seemed like that, but he still also seemed like the out of suit version of himself bled through.
Okay.
So I didn't pick, I was a little, I guess I'm being a little bit more nitpicky, but I wouldn't say it's a huge nitpick, but it is one of my small beefs with the film.
Okay. So let's continue talking about the cast, because that's sort of how we've started. And I've planned a little bit of a game.
Game for me or a game for the audience?
For you. Oh. A game for you. Well, it was supposed to be a game for you and Pete. That's is what it is.
Sure.
Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to say an actor. Some of them are in this film. Some of them may not be in this film. And I'm going to say an actor. And what I want you to do is tell me between 0 and 100 a percentage of prior to seeing this film. If I had asked you, what do you think the chances are? What percentage chance do you think there is that this person is going to show up in the film? And I need you to, it's tricky because we've seen the film. So I need you to really, like, take a second, close your eyes, take a deep breath, get yourself into the headspace of Carl from a week and a half ago, right? Prior to seeing this film, prior to knowing who shows up and who doesn't and all of these things. What would have been the odds that this person would show up? If we were just, if before the movie had come out, we were sitting and we were making a list of, like, our guesses for cameos.
Right.
What is the percentage that this person will show up? Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to start out kind of soft. If I had asked you, what do you think the odds are that we will see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman?
100.
100%, eh? Like, you were confident that was happening. Even though she wasn't in any of the marketing, she wasn't in any trailers.
Okay, maybe not 100. I'd say maybe 90. 85 at least. 85, okay. 90, yeah.
I think I was at the 50-50 mark. I was like, I could show up. I mean, she showed up in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So she's not, the studio's not opposed to throwing her in these little cameos. Okay, if I had asked you, what are the odds that we will see Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry?
I would say the same as Gal Gadot. I just kind of jumping the gun here. Anybody from the JLA movie would have been 80, 90.
Interesting. So then,
just because,
so then that transfers over to Ray Fisher as Cyborg, who we did not see.
Yeah, because they've kind of. They're a team now. There's a high chance that some of them are going to make it to another film, as we've seen with Fury of the Gods.
This is where things get a little more interesting.
And that one wasn't even a JLA guy.
If I had asked you, what are the odds that we're going to see Adam West as Batman in this film?
Oh, it would have been at 0.
0, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, 100%. It never even crossed my mind. Like, when I was thinking, when we're like, oh, what other Batmans could show up? Like, oh my gosh, like, holy cow, who could it be? It never even crossed my mind. Never even crossed my mind. That was 0%.
This is like a little rabbit hole tangent, but I think this is fun to go down. Are you familiar with, like, it's either just wrapped up or it's like current Batman run?
No,
like Batman Through Time is what the
I don't read Batman because I am Batman, and that just seems egotistical.
So there's this comic book run where, like, for some, Batman dies, but he doesn't really die. He just gets sent through time, and he ends up, like, time hopping for some reason to different times and different universes. And he ends up running into different versions of himself. Like he runs into the Batman Arkham from the Batman Arkham games, and he runs into Adam West. And when he runs into Adam West, he doesn't have a utility belt. And the Adam West Batman's like, every Batman needs a utility belt, and gives the comic book Batman his utility belt. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
And it's probably got like shark spray and stuff like that.
It does, and that shark spray gets used later in the comic.
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
Cool.
So
yeah,
stupid.
I watch.
Okay.
I don't read the comics, but I there's a YouTube channel called Comic Storian, and he does breakdowns and graphic read throughs of the comics, and that's where I'm following it. It's pretty dope.
All right,
so cool.
Had I asked you, will we see Christian Bale as Batman?
Oh man, I would say zero.
Zero,
I didn't think we were going to see any other Batman than the Batman we've seen from the shows or from the trailers.
I gave this one like a 20%.
Really?
I didn't think it would happen, but I knew that if it did, the audience would cream themselves. And so I thought, you know what? There's enough of like a ridiculous fan service moment potential here that someone might do it. So then so you're also a 0 for Robert Pattinson then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which obviously, I mean, Robert Pattinson, not the same continuity, not the same, whatever, but we're dealing with the multiverse.
Yeah. I thought the only Batman we were going to see were Ben Affleck and oh my goodness, your homeboy.
Michael Keaton.
So
interestingly then, and even though you've said 0, I am going to ask this because obviously it's got relevance. And I said to you, do you think George Clooney is going to show up in this film as Bruce Wayne?
I would say negative 100.
Negative 100. And
like,
you know what?
Bottom of the barrel, not even bottom of the barrel, underneath the barrel, buried in the ground 6 feet under.
Yes, and not necessarily because of the studio and the fans, but I would have thought because of George Clooney. Now, and I guarantee you, now, obviously, once he met with he met with Andy Muschietti and read a script and stuff like that, like, obviously he was won over. But I guarantee you, when that initial email or phone call or whatever it was came through and said, hey, we'd like you to come be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, come reprise this role.
I guarantee you the I don't think so thoughts in George Clooney's head were immense. Because
I bet you it was more
know.
than in his head. I bet you he emailed him back and said, no, I'm not doing that again. And it took another email of him saying, no, just meet with me. Just sit down with me and read the script and see my vision.
I don't know that there's ever been an actor in the history of Hollywood who has shit-talked, regretted, hung his head and apologized, wishing it had never happened, like George Clooney with Batman and Robin. Like very publicly, like in interviews and stuff, is ashamed of that having been, and is well aware the potential that had to ruin him and end his career and all of these things. So I was very surprised that happened.
Yeah.
Very happy that it happened though. Interestingly though, and I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe it would have felt shoehorned in. Like, I don't know how you would have done it. You could have done it just in the Speed Force. I thought it was a shame that, because you didn't even need to give someone a speaking role, right? Like, if you gave them a Speed Force cameo, then you can just throw anyone in there, right? So then, if we're thinking in terms of Speed Force, I'm a little surprised that we didn't see some kind of Christian Bale imagery, but I'm equally surprised that we didn't see Val Kilmer. Because he's the one other Batman. We saw 2 out of 3 Batmans from that continuity.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they're like wild, even though Tim Burton's films and Joel Schumacher films are wildly different, they're still meant to be the same Batman.
Yeah.
And so we didn't see that. And following this big, like, return that he had in Top Gun Maverick, this like emotional, heart-wrenching return, it just kind of surprises me that, you know, we didn't see him. I mean, it's quite possible they asked him and he just said no. And then they were like, wow, can we just use your likeness in the Speed Force? And he may have said no. I don't know. But I think they're like, you really could have done something touching there about a Batman who, Bane broke his back and got the best of him, and like a seriously broken, paralyzed Batman.
Man, yeah, you know, you're talking about like surprised they didn't use the ex-Batman. I think the Robert Pattinson's even more so of a surprise. Because
they're trying to push him so much.
He's legitimately the current Batman. And they haven't denounced that as not being canon or continuity to the new DCU. They're just saying it's going to be Elseworld, a parallel Earth.
Right.
So why not make it just that?
Yep. Interesting.
Through this film.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. If I had asked you, what are the odds that we'll see Henry Cavill?
That would be the same as the other Justice League.
The 90, yeah. 80, which 90. Yeah. Technically we do as a Speed Force CGI representation. We know a speaking role, but we do, you know, it's very similar to the Adam West cameo.
Right.
If I had asked you, what are the odds that we'll see Christopher Reeve as Superman?
Yeah, it would have been a 0.
A 0.
I was
right.
Like I wasn't the whole Speed Force cameo scene. And I don't, you know what? I don't even know why I wasn't expecting this, because we talked about, and you're going to mention him in a minute. We talked about Nicolas Cage and
Nick Cage
on the news show. So I don't know why it never crossed my mind to think about other possibilities. But that whole scene was like shock and awe for me.
Oh yeah, just fan service after fan service after fan service.
Yeah, like it didn't ever even occur to me that this was a possibility to happen in the film.
And not only do
which is ridiculous, because of course it's
sure.
Why wouldn't it be? It seems almost obvious in hindsight.
Not only do we get Christopher Reeve, we got Helen Slater, who's the 80s Supergirl, standing next to Christopher Reeve. We got George Reeves as a black and white Superman.
Yeah.
Wow. Like just wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This is,
and then we got Nicolas Cage.
Then we got Nicolas Cage. Oh my goodness, we got Nicolas Cage, which was great. And it wasn't just like a quick flash of them standing there like some of them were. It was like, no, he's fighting a giant ass spider and he's winning, and he turns and glares at the camera.
So this is important, and
you've won me over. Nicolas Cage can be Superman.
He can be Superman and everyone's like, you know, everyone always gets bent out of shape. They're like, oh, they, you know, it's not weird enough that they were casting Nicolas Cage. What's with that hair? Well, what you need to understand is that at that time when that film was going to be made in the comics, Superman had longer hair. Had like a big, long friggin' flow thing happening there. Yeah. So what is, because I need to make sure that you and also specifically the listener understands just how special, how glorious that Nicolas Cage cameo is. Because yes, we talked about on the news show that yes, there was going to be a Nicolas Cage film directed by Tim Burton. They got as far as like a script. You can go online and read different variations of the script.
You can see
test footage of Nick Cage and the blah blah blah. And then the late great John Schnepp, who was a fantastic guy, a sort of film pundit, nerdy filmmaker extraordinaire, who passed away 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. Anyways, it was very sad. It was very tragic. Made a documentary, The Death of Superman Lives. What Happened, I think, is the subtitle of it. And it's so one of the things, the person who wrote the script, I'm gonna pull back and Carl, like maybe you'll already know some of this, maybe you won't. But I'm going to pull back a little bit of the curtain on some of the details of that Nicolas Cage Superman film, because they are this scene is so riddled with Easter eggs and if you know moments. So the person who one of the people penning the scripts for Superman Lives, or The Death of Superman Lives, I think is what it was called, was Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith met with the director, no, not the director, one of the producers, the executive producer, the man that had all kinds of power because he's throwing money at it, and ultimately it's his film, and he's found a director, and he's found a writer, and he's found, he's making cast suggestions and whatever else. And the producer, who clearly didn't know dick about Superman, met with Kevin Smith prior to Kevin Smith writing the script and said, okay, I have 3 rules. I got 3 things I want in this film. I'm going to give you the 3 things that I want in this film, and then you go do your thing and come back to me. Kevin Smith said, sure, okay. And the producer said, okay, number 1, I don't want him to fly. No flying. I don't want him to fly.
It's not the end of the world. Superman never flew for a long time.
And Kevin Smith was like, what, like, at all? You don't want him to fly at all? Like, and he says, no, I don't want him to fly because I've seen the way they do the flying in the films, and it always looks fake, and I don't like it. So I don't want him to fly. And Kevin Smith was like, okay. And he says, number 2, I don't want to see him in that suit. And Kevin Smith was like, what suit? Is that suit he's always wearing? Kevin Smith was like, you mean the Superman suit? Like, he says, yeah, with like the blue and the red cape and whatever. I don't want to see it. It looks, and the term, and this is not my wording, and it's not Kevin Smith's wording. It was the producer's wording. But he says, it looks faggy. I don't want that. Ugh. He says in number 3, I want him to in the 3rd act, he needs to fight a giant spider. And Kevin Smith was like, what? Like, what? Like, really? A giant spider? And he was like, yeah. He says, I don't know if you know anything about spiders, but they are the fiercest predator in the animal kingdom and like all this stuff, right? It was the guy was like horny on spiders and really wanted a spider in this non-flying business suit wearing Superman film. And so Kevin Smith was like, all right, man, like, yeah, I'll spider it up. Like, don't worry.
Sure,
and,
whatever.
So he goes off and he writes this script, and then Warner Brothers is like, no, we don't, like, you can't, whatever, you just can't call it a spider because whatever, it makes it too scary or makes it too, just don't call it a spider. And so Kevin Smith's like, okay, it's a Thangorian snare beast. So what you actually saw on screen was a Thangorian snare beast. Which is, and what's really funny about this story is that ultimately, obviously, this film was not made. And at some point, he was like, Kevin Smith is like reading the script to this producer because the producer couldn't really read, and he liked to just like lay on the couch and like have the writer read the script to him. So you could like stare at the ceiling and like envision the movie on his ceiling. And so he reaches this point and he's like, he says, nothing's happening. And Kevin Smith's like, what do you mean nothing's happening? And he's like, well, Brainiac's just shown up at the Fortress of Solitude. Like, where's the fight? Like, you got to make him fight. Like, nothing's, he says, at least make him fight like Superman's guards. They're there by themselves. And Kevin Smith's like, what? It's a Fortress of Solitude. The guy's like, he's there alone. Like, that's kind of the point. And also, why would he need guards? He's Superman. And so anyways, it turned into this thing where like there was going to be 2 giant polar bears were Superman's guards, and Brainiac shows up and slaughters a polar bear. Like it was just so. But when this film didn't pan out, didn't end up happening, that producer, the very next film that this producer went ahead to work on was a Kevin Kline, Will Smith film called Wild Wild West, in which the third act features a giant mechanical spider. So he got a spider after all, but
good for him.
Yeah. So not only is the Nick Cage in the suit with the hair cameo special, but the fact that he's fighting a giant spider just shows this level of knowledge and this level of fandom and this level of fan service that and I guarantee you, like, there was probably we went to like a 10:30 show, 10:30 at night, so there was maybe only 20 people in our theater.
Your theater was empty too.
Yeah, I guarantee you I was the only one that got it. Like, I think other people, like, of the 20 people, maybe 4 of them got the Nick Cage thing. I guarantee you I was the only one that went, oh my God, it's the Thangorian snare beast. Like, I was the only one that was like losing my mind over this giant spider.
I feel like I heard the spider bit before. I didn't realize he went on to make Wild Wild West after, but like the Kevin Smith writing and
which is hilarious, by the way.
But it never registered deep because the film never got made and it's ridiculous and silly.
Yeah.
So
except now it's not,
when I
because
saw it, it didn't
after
register.
seeing that, after seeing what we saw, I'm like, yeah, do it up.
Yeah,
do it up, man. Give me Nick Cage as Superman.
Maybe not the producers wanted changes, but Kevin Smith's original script.
Yeah. Okay, so that's just incredible. So those are ridiculous. Who could believe it? Cameos. The one person I will say that I wanted going in, like the person that was on my wish list, was Michelle Pfeiffer. I talked about that on the show. I just wanted Michelle Pfeiffer to show up, but ultimately, like I said, because of the direction they went, like because of what the story is, Michelle Pfeiffer showing up wouldn't have made any sense.
Right.
Wouldn't have made any sense. And so that's completely fine. Michael Keaton. My man, Michael Keaton. I mean, come on.
I'm Batman.
Come on. Like,
get nuts.
Let's get nuts. The combination of Michael Keaton as Batman with that Danny Elfman score.
Oh, it just even like the mansion.
It's just a mansion in rooms that we've seen before.
Yeah,
like we've seen
that's
that
what I'm
kitchen.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like the mansion.
That's the dining room with the whole "Could you pass the salt" scene with Kim Basinger.
Yeah,
like it's so good. And I will tell you, I will admit this because I admitted it to Brienne. The moment when Bruce decides I'm gonna help, and goes over to the family portrait, moves it aside, scans his eye, opens up the batsuit chamber. I came very close to crying. Very close. because the music's playing and all the suits are there and it's friggin' Michael Keaton. And I was just like...
All the suits except the bat nipple suit.
Well, yeah, but he never wore a bat nipple suit. So I was just like... Yeah. I came very close to crying.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely had goosebumps. I had like that warm, like slightly, like I felt like I'd had a couple of drinks. Like I was a little like...
Warm fuzzies.
Warm and fuzzy and tingly and like... movie could have ended there. And I would have been like, okay, I got what I needed. Next. Also, so Michael Keaton's incredible. Like absolutely incredible. And it's like, although you see the natural progression of his Bruce Wayne and of his Batman, and it feels like the natural, like, oh, this time has passed, and we reference Michael Gau's Alfred is no longer with us. Obviously, he was an old Alfred even back when they did this in 89.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it also felt like no time had passed at all. Like, it didn't feel like someone who hadn't played the character in 30 years was trying to remember how to play the character. Like, it was, yes, that's Michael Keaton's Batman. Not just because of the suit, but because of the mannerisms and the voice and the... Like, his Bruce Wayne felt like, especially once he's like cleaned up and he's in the Batcave and they're doing this like sciencey experiment
he's doing
stuff
Batman
and
things.
He's doing it felt.
And
the fact that the Batcave hasn't been changed, it's still the same computer with all the monitors. Like it just
that was really good.
Was so good. I also want to talk about Sasha Calle, who played Kara Zor-El. She's amazing in this.
Oh, yeah.
She was such a good Supergirl.
Yeah.
No
complaints
good
at
Supergirl.
all. Zero, none, zilch.
Oh, so good.
And
Okay.
like big props and respect to her for like reaching out to previous people who have played versions of Superman and Supergirls.
Yeah.
And saying like, what do I do? What's it like? How do I do it right?
Yep.
Like,
yeah, she met with Henry Cavill.
That's how you kind of like prepare for this role.
Yeah. But all the while still brought her own unique touch.
Exactly. Yeah. You do your own thing, but you make sure you're like honoring those that came before. Like we're talking about like as sacred as a comic book movie and comic book characters can get. We're talking about like sacred ground here. You're playing a very kind of near and dear character to a lot of people. You don't just go into it with your own mindset and your own thoughts and ideas without first doing some research and talking to people who've gone before and done it well.
Yeah. I enjoyed Iris West. She had a very limited role, but was still, served the purpose she needed to.
Yeah.
Boba Fett. Boba Fett is Aquaman's dad.
Yeah.
Did we know that before?
I can't remember if he was in Aquaman 1 or not. That was a Google search.
Pulling it up. Oh, yes, he is. Okay. I did not remember that. And so then when all of a sudden Boba Fett was on screen, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's freaking Boba Fett. So that was fun. Okay. Let's talk about some things, because I want to end on a high note. So let's talk about some things that we didn't like.
Sure. Do you want me to start or are you going to start? Sounds like you're on a roll.
Well, I just have one. I really only have one.
Okay.
Well, I have two. And I think I'm going to say the one because I think it's going to springboard, like you're going to agree and we're going to jump all over this. There is. I've been seeing a lot of things online that are talking about, and these are people who aren't in the know, and so it's fine. A lot of people saying the CGI was incomplete. That they released a film where the CGI had not been finished.
Are we talking about like the final fight? Is that where they're drawing that conclusion from?
I think they're mostly referring to like the Speed Force stuff.
Like the time chamber or whatever he called it.
When you've got like you're seeing Henry Cavill and you're seeing all these cameos and you're seeing these scenes from previous films that are kind of played out. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the CGI was complete. And Andy Muschietti has gone out on record saying that the way that the Speed Force looks was a stylistic choice. We made it look that way because they're supposed to look like kind of avatars of
right.
These. It's not supposed to look. And I think at least for me, it was the wrong stylistic choice. Like because it looked too close to being real that it's created this confusion of the CGI was bad.
You know what? I don't think I had a problem with it.
No?
No. You mentioned like when you were saying, and I mean I showed my hand here, I guess, but when you were saying CGI problems, like I thought we were going to be talking about that big final climactic battle, because there were some times during that where some of the CGI looked a little weak.
See, and people have been saying that too, and I didn't know. Maybe on a second viewing, I'll notice that. I didn't notice any of it, and I think it's just because I was so sucked in.
Yeah,
I was just immersed, and I wasn't paying attention to any of that. I was just blown away by what was happening.
I don't think it was enough to. I noticed it, but it wasn't like atrocious. Like it wasn't bad.
Right. The one moment that I will say was bad, and I don't know if this was supposed to be a stylistic choice. It wasn't in the Speed Force. It wasn't in like the speed time chamber thing. But the opening scene could have been amazing.
The one with the babies?
Yes. Because the tension, when you're inside that room and you see the baby sliding towards the window and you're well aware of what's going to happen, the tension, the upset in your stomach, oh my God, this is horrific, was palpable. It was crazy. It was, you want to talk about steaks? Here's steaks. We'll give you steaks. We got 24 babies falling out a skyscraper.
We got baby steaks. We got T-bone steaks. We got dog steaks.
Stop. And then as they're in the room rolling out the across the floor or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is horrific.
High tension. Yeah.
And it looks very real and it's very upsetting and oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden, all of the babies are suddenly made of rubber. This CGI, and I don't know if that was, I don't know if it was them saying, you know what, this is so awful and so horrific.
That was noticeably CGI as well, yeah.
If we make it seem too realistic, then it's too upsetting and too awful, but I think they should have just had the guts and went for it and made it really realistic and really upsetting and really awful, because they started to look like what it reminded me of was that awful Jim Carrey-less sequel to The Mask, Son of the Mask. And there was a CGI baby in that. And he looks like, PlayStation 3 cutscene graphics.
Yeah.
And it just really took me out of like, because it went from like super serious to like, I'm going to put a baby in a microwave and which, okay, that sounded really awful, but you get what I'm going to do all these things. That's what happened. But like, and then as soon as they're back on the ground again, it's clear that he's holding a real baby. So it was just like that one felt very like, okay, obviously there were moments in this scene where you had to use CGI. You can't actually throw babies out a window. But you used it so poorly.
Yeah.
And that really pulled me out of it.
Yeah.
Really pulled me out of it.
I could agree with that. Yeah.
That's my first gripe, is that the CGI in that opening scene, it took some recovering for me. It took some, especially because it's right at the beginning. I'm like, oh, is this what this movie's going to be? And it wasn't, for the most part, at least for me, but it really took some recovering. What's a gripe you have?
This would be like an issue with the Flash, and this is again writing. It's not to do with the actor or the suit or anything. It would be, can you picture or just like in your recollection at any point in the past, point out for me when the Flash was a kleptomaniac?
A kleptomaniac?
He like stealing things and would steal things without thinking.
No. Does that happen in this movie?
Constantly. He's constantly taking things that aren't his.
When?
He takes the hot dog. The vending machine's going to fall and hit the ground anyway, but he steals all the food out of the vending machine. But that's there was at least like 4 or 5 times he steals things that aren't his.
Right, but when it was
maybe
food,
he's got good reasons, but he's still stealing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like it's a small gripe, but for me, like almost a lot of the DC superheroes are fairly black and white when it comes to doing being upstanding to the law. Right. Like,
but I mean, he was about to pass out.
But yeah.
Right, it was his metabolism that was the issue.
He didn't leave like a $10 bill in the person's, like he could have left some money in that person's hand.
Who carries cash?
He's the Flash. He could find cash on a short notice if he needed to. He could scour the states for penny change.
He's gonna steal $5 off of one guy so he can pay for the other.
No, he'll find it on the ground somewhere.
My gosh.
I liked how they showed how he needs to eat a lot to keep up his power, because that's a very comic book thing. But just, oh man, I don't know. It bothered me how much he took stuff without a second thought, to the point where it's like, okay, this Flash is all right with petty theft.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
That is a very real thought I had at the end of this film. For me, that was
just a part of it. I was like, okay. The second gripe, and really the only other big gripe that I think is worth, like, that really stood out to me and was a moment where I was like, oh, come on, was when, because like Brienne and I actually even looked at each other and we're like, is when Barry glues his tooth back in.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and I'll admit, because nothing comes of that except for setting up that gag right at the very end, where his tooth falls out again.
Yeah.
And I will admit, because I was caught up in the whole, like, it was preceded by George Clooney showing up and Barry Allen's "Who the F is this guy?" and like, so I was already in a jovial mood when that final gag happened, and it did make me laugh. Like, I laughed out loud.
You're a little lighthearted.
But I was a little lighthearted, and had that gag happened elsewhere, I would have been like, well, this is stupid. And it was stupid and unbelievable and didn't make any sense that he was able to glue his tooth back in.
Well, I mean, I've played with super glue a fair bit.
No, come on, don't even no.
No. Like I'm not giving it credit. I'm taking away credit. Like I'm fairly confident that super glue would not hold that tooth in any capacity.
No, and especially not straight and like it looked like nothing had happened. Like 2 seconds later, it was like he'd never lost a tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was when the Batman thing, when Batman's first there, everyone's going crazy, and Barry 2 moves Barry 1 out of the way, but does it a little too fast.
He throws up.
And causes Barry 1 to throw up. How much Ecto Cooler had he been drinking? Because what he's throwing up is the most high school highlighter neon green bullshit that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, what is in his body that is causing him to throw up like gallons of lime green fluid? So that bothered me. That was just kind of like, what? Like, it just didn't feel like it fit. Like, sure, have him throw up, right? Because you've already explained that you can't move people too quickly. That's one of the tricky things about being the Flash, is you can't move people too quickly because their body can't take it. But then to bookend that with this like super fake looking, ridiculous, over the top, cheesy, and I don't know what that was. Was that like, okay, we're gonna maintain a certain rating by not having it look too gross and graphic? We're gonna make it look a little comedical and cartoony. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That really bothered me. Those are really my 2, 3, 2.5. Those are my gripes. What else about this didn't work for you?
I don't think I got any more gripes. I've already said a lot of my piece when it comes to my negatives on this prior to us breaking that down. But let's just move on to positives. Because there's a lot of positives. And like one of the big positives I liked about this film was, and this goes for like any film that does time travel, because time travel's tricky when you start throwing it into a film and then explaining it. And like, if you have seen any number of the Terminator franchises, you start creating all kinds of nasty plot holes that don't get explained and are hard to explain, and it creates a big mess. And I think this does a great job of explaining how their version of time travel works, and also kind of explaining it in a way that all of those any plot holes that would have been created are kind of also explained away at the same time. Time is like a uncooked piece of spaghetti, and when you time travel, you create another uncooked piece of spaghetti that intersects it, and now you've got 2 beginnings and 2 ends in this intersection point. And then when you interact with the past, all of a sudden you get an uncooked bowl of spaghettis plopped on your plate, and it's like, oh, what a mess. Okay, that explains everything for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that whole scene was fantastic.
But yeah, that was such a great explanation for time travel and their version of it and how it works. And oh yeah, wonderful. Like I had a conversation with a guy. He hadn't seen the film, I don't think.
Right.
And he was kind of complaining about some of the stuff he'd seen in the trailers about how, well, like the number one rule of time travel is you don't interact with yourself in the past because it creates a problem. Right. And And I was just like, yeah, but that's like Doctor Who and Back to the Future time travel. That's not time travel in this Marvel in this cinematic universe, like they're doing it differently. You need to watch the movie, and then it makes sense. Like, yeah, he can interact with himself. It just creates more mess,
right?
More weaving messy spaghetti on your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really like that. Having said that, though, there was still like, when the movie ended, I wasn't able to fully make a logical connection between everything that happened time travel wise, like all of the cause and effect. Like with the ending, and it was like, okay, so now George Clooney is Batman in his universe, and so some things he was able to change for a positive, and some things like the jar of tomatoes carried over and had that effect, but somehow him changing the jar of tomatoes to the top shelf has changed who Batman is within this universe in a really big way. Like, it was just I think there was some aspect of this film, even though they did a good job of essentially explaining the basics, there was some aspects of this film that was still Warner Brothers and Andy Muschietti saying, we need you to kind of just suspend disbelief a little bit.
Wait.
Like, just kind of go with this.
Okay. I'm a little confused that you don't understand that you're not aligned with that premise.
Okay.
Because removing one can of tomatoes from their original place on the shelf caused there to be not only a new Batman, but all metahumans to pretty much non-exist except for Supergirl.
Yes and no, because that led to... But here's the difference. Removing the can of tomatoes caused his mother to still be alive. It caused Barry's father to never go to jail. Like, there was some big people who would have moved into that house never moved into that house. Like, there was some really big repercussions of that. Like, that was a big ripple. The only thing that really should have changed from him moving the can of tomatoes to the top shelf was that Barry's mom still dies. Barry's dad still goes to jail, but all these years later, in real time with where Barry left the timeline in the first place, we're now able to... He now glances up instead of keeping his head down, and we're able to get him out of jail moving forward. But nothing else really should have changed prior to this.
Absolutely there should have. You're ignoring the entire explanation of how time travel works. Because removing that can of tomato, because realistically, when that can of tomatoes, when she went shopping, and when the week, whatever that she died, Batman exists at that point in time.
Sure. Michael Keaton's
right? Michael Keaton or any Batman. Or I guess Michael Keaton's Batman, yeah. But like Batman from his universe potentially didn't. Like, the whole point of the explanation is that changing one thing doesn't change just the future. It changes the past.
Right. Okay, so walk me through this. Like, I'm going to ask some questions. You walk me through this.
Hang on, because
there's one specific thing I need to know. There's one specific thing I need to know.
Okay.
So, when Barry leaves his current time to go... Excuse me. Good Lord. It's doing all those Batman voices. When Barry leaves the present time to go back and stick the can of tomatoes in his mom's cart.
Sure.
Is that, like, where is he at that point? Is he in the, is this supermarket in the past of his current timeline? Like, is he on the same spaghetti strand as he is when he's in the present and hasn't changed anything yet?
Yeah, this is the kind of the confusingness of time travel, right? The
See, this is what I'm saying.
But I'm saying like it doesn't matter because it's a big.
For me understanding.
You're looking. He's already changed things. Things are already messy because he's changed things and he's interacting with himself. Things are
no, but I mean before that even happens.
Before he fixes things. Refixes things.
No, I'm talking about at the beginning. At the beginning of the film. Like at the beginning of the film, he's got this idea about how he can go back and save his mom.
Right.
So when he goes back,
I would say there's just one strand of spaghetti.
Okay, so he goes back and he's in that strand of spaghetti, which means at that point, Batman actually probably doesn't exist because the Bruce Wayne from his timeline, I don't think is quite... probably hasn't been Batman for 20. Well, maybe he is. Maybe he's like year one Batman at that point or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Or he's at bare minimum, he's training.
He's training. He's with, yeah. Okay. So then when Barry goes, so then as soon as he does that, as soon as he touches the can and puts it in his mom's cart, we have a second strand of spaghetti.
I would say as soon as he removes it from the shelf.
As soon as he removes it from the shelf, well, I mean, he could have like taken it off and set it right back again and probably nothing would have changed. But regardless.
Yeah, maybe.
As soon as he took the action that he did in order to save his mom, he is on a second strand of spaghetti. The strand of spaghetti that he's on has come to a crossroads with another strand of spaghetti. And he's veered hard left onto that other strand of spaghetti. Great. And all of these things happen, right? In this new strand of spaghetti, this is the Michael Keaton strand of spaghetti. And
yeah, past and future are altered.
Yes, past and future are altered. He's on this new strand of spaghetti. There's this new course. He's going in a different direction within this bowl. So... And with it, but see, then I don't fully understand how the speed chamber works, and when he can see all these other.
So you're still at two strands. The two strands become a messy plate of spaghetti when Dark Flash, we'll call him, knocks him out of the time stream. And then he starts interacting with his mom, and then he starts interacting with himself, and he starts and that strand. Those two strands very quickly, I would say, become a plate of cooked spaghetti that are weaving and intertwining with each other.
So I guess what you could surmise then, something that would somewhat logically make the end of this film make sense, is that once that had happened, and there was a big messy bowl of spaghetti, and who knows what strand we're even on anymore, it would have been relatively impossible, because in order for Barry to make everything go back to exactly the same way that it was, like he had never done any of this, he would have to go back to the supermarket on the very same strand of spaghetti that he was on when he did it in the first place.
Yes,
that's the only way to undo that.
I think
and that would be impossible for him
to fix it. I'm saying I'm under the assumption he can't fix it ever.
Well, I think he could have if he were somehow able to find that strand of spaghetti. But I think now that there's this massive bowl of spaghetti, the odds that him ever being able to do that are so slim to none. Which means that the strand of spaghetti that he was on when he went back in time, again, back to that supermarket in order to try to undo what he had done was not the same strand of spaghetti, and it was a strand of spaghetti where, like, at that point, the only impact that him moving the can of sauce has, removing it from the cart, the only impact that has is killing his mom, and moving it to the top shelf, the only impact that has is saving his dad, because an argument could be made that when he arrives in that supermarket the second time, prior to touching or interacting with anything, George Clooney is already Batman, because that is the strand of spaghetti that he's on. And him moving the tomatoes is not going to impact Batman. So it's everything that's already happened up until this point in the film that has created all of these strands of spaghetti, like the George Reeves one, like the Christopher Reeves one. I feel like your the Adam West one
is still a little flawed, because you're still forward thinking.
No.
Instead of forward and backward thinking, right? So
no.
And your big thing is, like, your big hang up sounds like if the spaghetti isn't a mess, if you're still one strand, if he finds the right strand, your big hang up is him putting the tomatoes in the cart to save mom creates massive waves because mom doesn't die, dad doesn't go to jail, they stay in the house, yada yada yada. True. But you're assuming that moving them to the top shelf and having all the same events occur except for his dad going to jail.
His dad still does go to jail.
Well, but you're like, I'm saying you're making assumptions that just because it's moved to the top shelf, nothing else changes except for that one thing later on. But that.
No, I'm saying it's possible, but what I'm saying is, regardless, like the strand of spaghetti that he's on when he goes back to try to undo his actions is not the same strand of spaghetti that he's on when he does those actions in the first place.
Right. Does that your original assumption was that he was?
Well, yeah, but then try to track with me here, man. I've been working this out logically. And so then it's not the same strand of spaghetti. Theoretically, could he have gotten back to that same strand of spaghetti? Yeah, possibly. But there's now who knows how many thousands of millions of whatever strands of spaghetti in this bowl. And so he wouldn't even know how to get back to that strand of spaghetti within the speed chamber, even if he wanted to. Right? Because we've seen this speed chamber, and let's
I understand what you're saying, but
let's say the speed chamber.
I think it's more complicated than that.
The bowl itself. You can see all the strands of spaghetti.
I'm thinking it's more complicated.
But that's how the film explained it.
I'm thinking,
how the film explained it.
Even if he finds the right, even if things aren't a mess, even if he hasn't broken the timeline, moving those cans to the top shelf, you still end up breaking the timeline. You still end up with George Clooney instead of Ben Affleck.
I don't know.
And you're saying it's just because the waves aren't as big, but no, the whole point of the butterfly effect is that those waves grow. No matter what change you make, those waves grow and make massive changes.
But impossible, but also possible, like my theory that once he arrives in that supermarket, right? Because he has to go back in time to that supermarket on some strand of spaghetti. He's got to pick one, right? Whatever strand of spaghetti he's going back on. It's obviously, I don't think, the Michael Keaton one, because at that point they've gone into the speed chamber and he's gone back and forth through so many different strands of spaghetti that obviously that strand of spaghetti is not the strand of spaghetti that the supermarket was in when he first got to the supermarket. And I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that strand of spaghetti is not the same one that him and the other Barry have been existing on throughout the majority of this film. Maybe it is, but I think it's reasonable to assume that it's not, because there's been so many freaking strands of spaghetti now, and they've been in and out of the Speed Force, and Barry kept going back and going back and going back, which created Dark Flash. Anyways, what I'm saying is it's possible, because we've seen that there are strands of spaghetti with very different Supermen and very different Batman.
Yeah.
And so it's very possible that whatever strand of spaghetti he goes back on to try to fix those issues, that is a strand of spaghetti that has George Clooney as its Batman. Regardless, that is a George Clooney Batman strand of spaghetti. It's possible that his actions moving the can of sauce create another strand of spaghetti that is, that is the only one that's got George Clooney as Batman. But I think it's just weird and a bit of a stretch to suggest that him moving a can of sauce in a supermarket, because I would understand, I understand the first interaction changes things. It changes things that happen between the point in time where the supermarket is and the point in time where Barry leaves the present day, right? Barry's past changes. The past changes when he goes back and does what he does, when he puts the can of tomatoes in the shopping cart saving his mom. Things between the time when Barry leaves his modern day and goes back to the shopping store, the grocery store, his actions change things that take place in that time. However, because at the time, the only immediate effect of Barry moving the can to the top shelf is that now his dad looks up, which means that which means that the verdict that is going to be read in court is going to be one in his father's favor. However, that hearing has not happened yet when Barry originally leaves his modern time, which means any consequences of those actions, if you're following Back to the Future time logic and everything else, any consequences of him having done that, any consequences of had Barry's dad looked up and as a result of him looking up, the brim of his hat knocked over at this and blah, 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 then great, sure, we have an argument here. But because the only thing that changes happens in the future, happens at a point after when Barry returns to the modern day, to the point in time which he has left, which just means that Barry's dad is now going to be out of jail. Barry's dad being out of jail in the future versus still in jail, that is going to have consequences 100%. 100%. Because now Barry's dad is going to interact with people and live in a place that he wouldn't have otherwise. Sure. But that's why all I'm saying is my theory, what I think is most plausible, is that in that timeline, on that strand of spaghetti, George Clooney, when Barry goes back to the grocery store the second time, kills his mama, George Clooney is already Batman on that strand of spaghetti, because it doesn't make sense that his dad simply glancing up, reaching up instead of reaching down, has had enough of a ripple effect prior to this court verdict, right? Mom's still dying, dad's still going to jail, that it's had enough of a ripple effect that somehow it's not Ben Affleck, it's not Michael Keaton, but now it's George Clooney. Someone who's not connected to, doesn't know, isn't related to, because we see that just about, anyways, it doesn't matter. But that's my theory. That's how I've able to make the Flash time travel make sense.
I still feel like you're working within the confines of the time frame of the movie, though.
What do you mean? No, I'm not.
The present of the movie and the past of the movie and the things that happen in between. Like Batman, Michael Keaton's character explains, like, you change the past, not just like beyond the past of the movie. Like, ancient times have now changed because you've moved a can of tomatoes.
Agreed. Because you're on a separate strand of spaghetti now, where the past is different. And so what I'm saying is that the George Clooney becoming Batman, that past that is entirely different, has been caused probably not by Barry Allen moving the can of tomatoes, but it's actually been caused by all of the crud by Barry Allen too, constantly going back and doing things over and over again. That by the time this massive bowl of spaghetti exists, one of those strands has George Clooney as Batman. Has a timeline where the past has been changed. And right. George Clooney and friggin' Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone and Arnold flippin' Schwarzenegger, right? And that while Barry's in this massive bowl of spaghetti, surrounded by all these different timelines, when he goes back to that grocery store to try to rectify things and kill his mom, let's call it what it is, when he goes back to try to kill his mom, he's got to hop on, like, you can't not hop on a strand of spaghetti. You got to hop on a strand of spaghetti, right? You have to have a strand of spaghetti to go back to that point on. And so what I'm saying is, I absolutely time travel is what's caused this issue, and absolutely time travel changes the past and the future in both directions indefinitely. All I'm saying is that I think that George Clooney being Batman was caused by actions that have already happened in the film, was caused by Barry 2 repeatedly going back and making this.
I see what you're saying.
Because that's what it's Barry's actions doing that leads to that montage of look at all the Supermen, look at all the Batman that exist.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about this movie aside from stop debating time travel.
I just one further point to the time travel thing. I think the bowl of spaghetti was there before Barry Allen 2 did all his nonsense. Because when they're sitting around the table, Barry Allen 1 is like, oh crap, I broke the universe. That's when I think it's a plate of spaghetti. Anyway, the real question here is, do you think
that wasn't
George
a real
Clooney's
question?
Batman has the bat card on him when he interacts with Barry Allen?
Wait, hang on. I didn't hear your question because I'm still stuck on, you think we just spent 25 minutes on something that wasn't the real question. Okay, sorry. What's the real question now so we can talk for the next hour?
The real question is, does George Clooney's Batman have
you think he's got the bat visa
card on him? Because he never leaves home without it.
I would think so.
Like, he's got to, like, how did he pay for that car? He had to have the bat card, right?
And what is a bigger question to me, and this is actually more of it's similar, but it's actually more of a serious question, is because my assumption, and see, this is where the time travel thing gets screwy again, but whatever. It would appear, what this film seems to want to get you to buy into and believe is that I don't know that the time travel is them creating strands of spaghetti so much as it is them interacting with other strands of spaghetti that they would not have otherwise had access to or something, because the film seems to make you want to buy into the notion that this timeline that Barry ends up on with Michael Keaton as Batman is the Michael Keaton Batman timeline. That the events of Batman 89 and the events of Batman Returns have happened in this Michael Keaton's past. right?
Right.
So then, is the new timeline... but then... No, okay, that undoes my question. Okay, interesting. Well, because then I was going to say, so is this new timeline that Barry ends the film on, is this the Batman and Robin timeline? But it can't be, because the Batman and Robin timeline is the Batman 89 Batman Returns timeline.
Yeah.
It's just with different actors. So it can't be. Okay.
It's just like a weird multiverse thing, yeah.
Yeah. But interesting. Because then I was like, okay, so it was like, was there a Chris O'Donnell? Is Dick Grayson, Chris O'Donnell now dead? Is he dead? Is he alive? Is he Nightwing?
Yeah.
Is he? Wow, but who knows, right? Maybe he was Nightwing and then he died, right? It's like
Nightwing doesn't die in the comics. Come on.
There's a lot of things don't happen in the comics, my friend. I'm sure he does at some point.
He's probably died at some point. He dies in the Injustice comics. Yeah.
So, we've danced around it enough here, and so we need to talk about it. That scene, the second scene in the supermarket, is so heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
It is so.
Yeah.
I was a wreck because to watch Barry take his take this can of tomatoes, and by taking it out of his mom's cart, he knows that what he's doing is killing his mom. That he's killing his mom.
Yeah.
And it is just so heart-wrenching. So heart-wrenching. Like, yeah. It was tough. It was really, really tough. But like an amazing scene.
Yeah. The interaction between him and his mom, and do I know you? And talking to him like he's not her son, but at the same time talking to him like he is.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's a familiarity there enough for her to be really comfortable with him.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it was really good.
It's so intense. I don't know, because now I'm thinking,
are we back on the time travel thing? If we're back on the time travel thing, let's just move on.
No, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, the whole film's time travel, so it's whole film's
it's
a
messy.
Time travel thing. But like, if Barry knew, clearly he didn't know that he what he thought was that he was fixing everything.
Yeah,
because he's surprised when George Clooney is Batman.
Yeah, and that universe, he does fix quite a bit, because that universe must be quite similar, because Aquaman's the same person.
Yeah.
Which gives the impression that kind of majority of the things are still the same.
So then my question is, and I mean, it's explained away by the fact that Barry thought that he was fixing everything. But I'm like, I don't know, if you can never get things back to the way that they were to begin with. No, okay, that does answer. I was like, well, then why even bother? Like, why not just keep your mom? Like, what's the reason in going back and killing your mom? But I guess because in a universe where, essentially what it's telling us is, in a universe where Barry's mom, and I just doesn't make any sense. The causality is like painful, but because obviously there's not an infinite number of universes. There's only like a select number, because otherwise anything would be possible if you found one of those universes. But essentially what we're told is that in any version of reality where Barry's mom lives, the Earth is destroyed by Zod. all of human existence dies.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
which is kind of
why
like
he has
similar
to
the
mom.
comics. When Barry's mom lives in the comics, the Earth is in a horrible position.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I really like this movie.
Nice kind of callbacks to the original story.
I really like this movie. It's got some issues.
Yeah. Well, do you want to rate it? Are we ready to rate it?
I do. All right, sir. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rank The Flash?
For me, I would give it... Man, I never think about this question until it's legitimately asked. A 7.5, I think. It's
You were
really
like,
good.
"Are you ready to rate it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Oh, I'm not."
I asked if you were ready to rate it. I didn't say I was ready to rate it.
7.5, eh? That's good. This is respectable. That's a good number.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. You gonna ask me?
What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Do I have to hold your hand?
I mean, we just end this. No, we just end this.
Nobody cares what you think anyway, Brady. They only care what Pete thinks. Pete, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Pete. Oh. Well, if I was
that's
at the
right.
cottage,
You didn't watch it. You lazy.
If I was at the cottage,
if I was at the cottage, I would give it a B72.
Yes. Yes, which if you go online, you look at my very complicated spreadsheet, you'll see that means
Insert big fancy word here.
I would only watch it on a Wednesday if I had a peach cobbler sitting next to me and it was raining and the Wi-Fi was out.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I give this an 8 since you didn't ask.
What would you
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
What would you give it, Brady? You'd give it an 8. All right.
Yeah, I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, a couple issues, but ultimately I had a lot of fun. And you know what? That 8 is like... It's probably heavily influenced by, like, I've only seen it once, and I'm still kind of hyped by the whole Michael Keaton thing. So maybe it would go up, maybe it would go down. I don't know. But based off of the knowledge that I have right here, right now, yeah, I would definitely say an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. It was a good movie. Very good movie. I don't understand what this means moving forward. I mean, we were told that this was supposed to kind of restart the DC thing.
More questions
Clearly it doesn't.
than answers once again from the camp of the DC universe.
I mean, clearly it doesn't, because this is clearly George Clooney is not the new Batman.
I mean,
No.
if you think about what they've said about what the Batman movie's going to be, George Clooney could fit that role. An older Batman.
James Gunn said it's going to be an all-new actor.
Dick Grayson's moved on and is likely Nightwing. Damian Wayne.
But James Gunn said it's going to be a new actor.
No, I know. I know it's not. It's not going to be, but he would fit the role.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. But I just don't see that as. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
So I don't know where that's supposed to. I don't know. This just doesn't. And I think ultimately what that confirms is, I mean, a combination of Andy Muschietti now being brought on to do Batman Brave and the Bold, and the fact that they've ended this one. They've put our Barry, in a timeline that we know they're not going to continue. That's just where Barry lives now, and they're not going to do a Flash 2.
No, we will see a new Flash in a different continuity and universe. And
Different
at
actor.
most, that Flash will time travel at some point, and we will see flashbacks to this film the way we saw flashbacks to other works in this film.
Maybe.
At
Maybe.
most, that will happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a sure thing. I'm just saying that's likely to be what will happen.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all listed below. Check out our Patreon. It's a great way.
Words, hard, speak.
$1 a month. As little as $1 a month, you can support the show and get some fun perks. Just the other night, Wednesday night, Pete and I recorded a Patreon bonus episode that's going to be going up soon, and you can gain access to it for as little as $1 a month. Links down below. We also have a merch page. T-shirts, hats, water bottles.
Get your swag. Get your swag.
Even a teddy bear. You need a teddy bear wearing a Movie Men t-shirt that matches your Movie Men t-shirt. That's what you need in your life. Yeah.
Yes.
So make sure you do all those things. Next week, Carl and I are starting our Secret Invasion weekly episode review recap. Who's he? What's it? So stay tuned for that. And Indiana Jones is like right around the freaking corner, man. It's like 2 weeks out, 2.5 weeks or something like that. Handful of weeks. So there's lots of good stuff on the way. And this is really the only place to find entertainment on the internet. Internet's such a dry, barren wasteland.
If you're looking other places, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, you're probably tapping into some satanic stuff that you shouldn't be meddling with. So keep it right here.
The Speed Force. We got it all. We can go everywhere in time and get your answers. We know what's going on with the DCU. We just don't want to tell you.
We just don't want to tell you. We've signed an NDA, and we can't.
James Gunn was over for lunch yesterday, and
we can't. We're not allowed to tell you what actress is playing the new Batman. So it's create too many ripples.